Welcome to r/Am I the Jerk, where Karen puts a tracker on OP's car. Put a tracker on my car? Have fun on a wild goose chase. I, 27 female, do not live at home. I do not take money from my parents. I don't rely on them for anything. I have a job and I just put a down payment on my first house. My parents think that I'm a helpless damsel. I had to get the locks changed on my apartment because they had an emergency key that they used randomly. When I asked for it back, they refused. One of my friends recently went on a date with a creepy guy that put an Apple tracker in her car. She has an app that detects them, so she found it and tossed it in the river. I got the app too, because I'm out there dating too, and I got concerned after hearing her story. I'm seeing someone right now, and it seems to be going well. He seems to be a decent fellow. Yes, that's a Princess Bride quote. Anyway, I found a tracker in my car. I thought it was that guy. I didn't want to give him a clue that I found it, so I tossed it onto a pallet of produce my company has headed to Canada. It turns out it wasn't him. I did not go see my parents this last weekend, but I went golfing instead. The guy that I'm seeing called me, but I said I was busy. He was cool with it. My parents, on the other hand, called me a dozen times. I said I was golfing. They asked where, and I told them. I put my phone on Do Not Disturb, and I had fun with my friends. My dad called me from Boise, Idaho to ask why I threw away their tracker. I laughed and said that I would have to apologize to the guy that I'm seeing because I assumed it was him doing something that shady. My parents are upset that I scared them and called me ungrateful for making light of their concerns. Not the jerk. This is grounds for a restraining order. You need to cut contact and get a ton of boundaries set up because this isn't the way parents treat helpless damsels. This is controlling and insane, and it will only escalate. What happens when they start showing up to your job to check in on you? What happens when they start trailing your future fiancé? What happens when they decide you aren't parenting your toddler right and they try to pick her up from school? Not the jerk. This level of helicopter parenting on an almost 30-year-old is nuts. Have a sit-down meal with your parents at a nice restaurant. People are less likely to make a scene if they're out somewhere in public. Tell them that the tracker was out of line and it was a stalker-level behavior. They need to be treating you like a capable adult. You don't need to list out accomplishments to them, as they already know what you have going on and they've still chosen to behave this way, tracking your every move on their phones like creeps. Tell them that if they can't start showing some respect for your boundaries, you may need to go low contact until they do so. If you do need to keep your word on this, please stick to it. This is not okay and not how parents build a healthy relationship with their kid. I'm 15, male. My dad remarried and I've lost everything I had to my new step-siblings. My dad married my stepmother 3 months ago and I feel like it made my life significantly harder and less pleasant. They moved in with us and for the indefinite future, this situation will not change. We have a 3-bedroom house and before they moved in, my dad and I had our rooms, both with bathrooms. And there was a smaller room which was a study for my dad. After they moved in, Jenny, who's 16, got my room and I had to share the smaller room with Tom, who's 11, and Mike, who's 10. All my books, my telescope, and the rest of my stuff, they're packed and in the basement now since there's no space anymore. This made me very angry, but my dad told me that I have to be a team player and this is what him and his wife agreed on. Jenny treats me like crap. She sometimes acts as if I'm not there at all, and sometimes is super aggressive and hostile towards me. The other day I asked Tom to stop going through my stuff, and she became angry and said, "You have no right to order my brother around." She told me to get it through my thick skull that I'm not their big brother and I can't tell them what to do, even though all I asked was for them to stop going through my stuff. She said it's best if I don't talk to them at all, since that way they will get less influence from a weirdo like me. What I don't get is that if she's so concerned that I might leave a bad influence on Tom and Mike, why doesn't she take them into her room? Tom and Mike don't respect any boundaries. They're always going through my stuff. I have a watch, which was a gift from my late mother, and they took it from my drawer and lost it. I found it weeks later in the basement with its front glass broken. Before they moved in, I used to get a $100 allowance every month. Now Jenny gets $75, I get $35, and Tom and Mike each get $30. I had an Xbox, but these kids broke it. I used to spend a lot of time with my dad. He used to come see me play basketball almost every week. He hasn't done it even once in the past 3 months since he's always working overtime. We go out to eat once a week, and none of them in these 3 months have been to any of my favorite places. But Jenny, Tom, and Mike have each chosen their favorites more than once. I complained about all of this to my father last week, and he told me that family is all about sacrifices and I have to make mine. Haven't I made enough sacrifices already? I feel like I'm the only one making sacrifices. I looked forward to them moving in with us, but I now feel like an outsider at home. It's not my home anymore. Life has become very difficult for me. I spend as much time as I can outside because inside it's so frustrating, but this is causing problems as well. My dad keeps telling me that not being around means I'm not accepting them as part of the family, while in reality it's the opposite. So I got grounded for not being around, and being around is horrible. I don't want to live here anymore, but I'm only 15 and I can't move out. I have nobody else who can take me in. I can't stay here for another 3 years. I'll go crazy. I often imagine running away at night, but I know that's also as horrible, if not even more so. I don't know what to do. Can anyone give me a suggestion? It sounds like Ginny is the biggest problem. If she's 17, is the plan for her to move out soon? Maybe you can talk to your dad about getting your own room and having your 2 younger stepbrothers share a room. OP. She's not going anywhere. She will live at home when she goes to college. Parents have already given her the permission to do this. I'd show this post to your father. Maybe if he sees how strangers are sticking up for you, then your own father might change his tune. First of all, who came up with the stupid idea of giving 3 people the smaller room and your stepsister the larger one? Your father really needs to get his mind straight. Yes, you have to make some sacrifices, but so do the other kids. He does not want to discipline them though, to look good in front of your stepmom, but that needs to stop. Did you tell him about the watch? Breaking such an important piece of memory is extremely rude. Try to stand up for yourself as well as you can call them out on their behavior. Maybe your stepmother will finally start to say something. OP. They thought Jenny is older and needs more personal space and her own bathroom. I disagreed, but was eventually told to deal with it. Update. I decided to just ask my dad and stepmother for some time to talk to them, and I just showed them my post on Reddit. They took a good half an hour reading it. There were times that it looked like they were going to start crying. Eventually, they told me that they need more time and we'll talk about it in a couple of days. 2 nights later, my dad asked me to come to their room, and to make it short, they got it. They both hugged me, and at some point, my stepmother started crying. They apologized to me for their negligence and told me that they messed this up. They put all their attention and focus on helping my step-siblings adjust given the new living arrangement, and they neglected how difficult it must have been for me. They promised me that things will change. About the room arrangement, they realized that it's not reasonable, so they offered me the basement as a lot of you suggested. We went to the store and bought a lot of supplies and made it a family exercise for everyone to contribute refurbishing the basement and making it like a bedroom. So I'll have my own room now. It won't have a bathroom like before, but I'm okay sharing a bathroom. That's not a problem. The money allowance changed as well. It was Jenny 75, me 35, and Mike and Tom 30 each. Now it's Jenny 60, me 50, and the boys are 30 each. So 15 from Jenny comes to me now. I think that's much more fair. It's not as good as the 100 I used to have, but this arrangement is something I can easily understand and accept. Now on to Jenny. Well, my stepmother told me that Jenny's problem is not me, it's that her mother married, and she doesn't like that because she was hopeful that she would return to her dad. Now she's trying to make this not work, and I'm just in her crosshairs. Apparently, she's been a little jerk to my dad as well. She promised me that she will handle Jenny and make sure that she won't be a problem. As for my stepbrothers, this is the most difficult as they're 10 and 11. They gave me a small lock so that I can lock my bag for now. And when the basement is ready, which will be in a couple of weeks, I can lock its door and only me and my parents will have a key. So at least my stuff will be safe. About the other things, they also made little changes to make things easier. They told me that I can come to them with any problems, and my dad promised me some father-son time every couple of weeks as well. I was happy with everything. They addressed most of the issues and found solutions, and so far they've done their best to do everything that they promised. Jenny came to me a few nights later and asked if I would come with her for a walk in the neighborhood as she wanted to talk to me. So we went for a walk, and she apologized to me for everything and told me that she didn't and still doesn't like that her mom married my dad, and she was forwarding her anger and frustration towards me, the only person she could, which was not right. She said that I'm probably going through similar things as she is, and really there's no reason for us to make each other's lives even more difficult than it already is. So I accepted her apology and we shook hands on being on the same team from now on. And honestly, she's been very different ever since. She's helping me a lot in preparing the basement and she makes Tom and Mike help as well. The other day, when I asked Tom to turn down the TV volume and he refused, she told him to listen to your big brother. Yeah, good things. I hope she remains this way. Overall, things are a lot better. I trust my stepmother a lot more now. Jenny is much better than before, and we're becoming more and more like a family, and the place looks and feels like a home again. Am I the jerk for not replacing a spoon that went missing during a work potluck? I'm 23, female. My workplace decided to have a potluck and everyone brought a dish. My coworker, 56, male, let's call him Dave, his wife was kind enough to make 2 huge pans of biryani, crispy onions, and a homemade yogurt, which was delicious. After the potluck, there were leftovers, so we all brought some home, and I guess Dave left everything he brought, including the serving spoons, at work until the next day. After everyone took their leftovers, there was about 2 servings left in one tin, so I asked if I could just take the whole tin home. It was one of those Dollarama pans that you throw out after. He gladly said yes. I come in for work the next day, and Dave asks me if I had seen the serving spoon he brought yesterday, and I said no. I helped him look for it in the kitchen, and we couldn't find it, so I said I'd double-check the tin that I took home. I get home, and it's not there. He texts me asking about it, and I tell him it's not there. He insists that I check again, and I just didn't respond. The next day at work, he asks about it again. Admittedly, I was kind of getting annoyed because it's a spoon. How expensive could it be? I told him I already checked and I don't have it. He replies, "Well, what am I supposed to do now? My wife cooked for you guys and sent cutlery, and now it's missing. She's going to be very upset, and she's not going to want to cook for you again." I jokingly responded, "I'm not sure what you're going to do. I guess we'll have to buy her a new one if this means no more biryani." And he goes, "Yeah, you will." He asked about us replacing it later that day, and I said, "If you knew your wife would be this upset about a spoon, you should have made sure to round them up and bring them home last night. It's not anyone else's responsibility to replace it. Obviously, it's just a spoon, and I wouldn't mind replacing it, but I have no idea what happened to it. Neither does anyone else, and I feel like his wife's anger isn't our problem. I do feel kind of bad because she was nice enough to make lots of food for us, but I don't see how him leaving the spoons at work and one of them going missing means that we should replace it. Am I the jerk?" Not the jerk, but ask him to get you a receipt for the spoon so you can divvy up the cost. Everyone who is at the party will Venmo him 32 cents. Not the jerk. He should know better than to bring his platinum spoons to work. Things always go missing in group situations like that. He should leave his wife's family heirlooms at home. Not the jerk. If you lost the spoon or Bob lost the spoon, then I fully understand you or Bob replacing the spoon on your own dime, but no one knows what happened. This falls on Dave. If the utensils were that important, he should have paid better attention, or he should have just not brought the good utensils to a potluck event. Everyone sucks here, honestly. I've been in Dave's shoes before. I baked something for my team when the group needed a pick-me-up. I put it out and someone walked off with the dish. No one confessed to stealing the dish or throwing it away. Instead, I was blamed for bringing in a dish and not keeping an eye on it. I was by far the youngest and worst paid. That taught me to not bake for the team ever again. Dave did a kind thing, and from his perspective, y'all just really took advantage of his generosity. Well, who do you think is the jerk? OP or Bob? Please let us know. I've got a solution. Go to Dollar Tree and get him a spoon. They're like $1. Also, disposable serving utensils exist for a reason, Bob. Jerk refuses to move his motorcycle, so I kicked him out of the hotel. Like many hotels, at the front of our building, we have sort of a covered arch in front of our main entrance. The area where people park temporarily while they check in and unload their luggage before moving it to the actual parking space. That thing, whatever it's called. Earlier in the afternoon, a man came inside to check in. He was very nice and respectful. He asked if it would be okay for him to park his motorcycle outside under the arch for the night as long as he keeps it out of the way. I glanced outside to see where it was. It was just a small motorcycle, and he had it parked flush against the edge of this area. So I said that was fine as long as it stayed there and it wasn't obstructing traffic in any way. Great, end of story, right? Wrong. A few hours later, David checks in with his girlfriend. They have 2 wide motorcycles, and each one has a big trailer attached to the back of it. They parked them both under the unloading area outside. I figured that they'd move them since they were obviously blocking a lot of traffic trying to get through. If a truck or RV couldn't get through, how the heck is a fire truck or an ambulance supposed to get through? They checked in, paid in cash, went up to their room. When I next saw David walking through the lobby a few minutes later, I asked if he was planning to move the vehicles since they were obstructing others. He dismissed me and said, "Maybe after the storm. I'll think about it." What? He had already gotten in the elevator, so I waited a few minutes. I got 2 guest complaints about not being able to get their cars through the arch. So after speaking to those guests and apologizing, I called Dave's room twice. No answer. I called his cell phone. He answered. I said I'd gotten multiple complaints and that I needed him to please come down and move the vehicles. He said fine, he'd be down in a few minutes. He did come down after a few minutes. He did go outside, but I don't know what he did out there because he most certainly did not move the vehicles. 10 minutes later, I see him walk through the lobby, but a guest was coming in at that time, so I couldn't catch him. The guest complained about the 2 large bikes outside. David walked through the lobby again a couple of minutes later to go back outside. After another 5 minutes, he came back in, and I caught him before he got in the elevator. I asked him to move the bikes as soon as possible. He said he wasn't moving crap. I said, "You need to move them soon, please." "Tell you what, you get the other guy to move his bike first, and then I'll think about moving mine." "I need you to move them soon, please." He ignored me and went up to his room. I had a couple things to do in the meantime, but after 15 minutes without him moving the bikes, I called his room. He picked up saying, "What?" "I've asked you nicely multiple times. Now I'm telling you that you either move the vehicle somewhere else or you will find another place to stay." "How about I come down to the desk and you give me my money back?" "Great," and I hung up. I got the correct amount out of the drawer and paperclipped it for whenever he got down to the desk. He arrived and I held out his money to him. He didn't take it. He said, "I want to speak to your manager now." "My manager isn't here right now. You need to leave." And I sort of shook my outstretched hand as an emphasis of, "Take your money and get out of here." "Well then, give me their cell phone number because I'm calling them right now." "You can call the hotel tomorrow. Right now, you need to leave." "This is BS. If one person can park out front, you have to let everyone park out front. You can't pick and choose. It's not fair." "Oh, grow up. They aren't obstructing traffic. They asked permission. They were here hours before you showed up. Get out of here with that 'it's not fair' BS. If someone leaves their car or truck out front, I call and ask them to move it too. Why? Because it's obstructing traffic." He got his crap together and left with his girlfriend. I went upstairs to check the room, worried that he had trashed it out of spite. There was garbage thrown out on the floor, but other than that, it was fine. One of them left their pillow behind, so I grabbed that and took it downstairs to the office, figuring they'd be back for it later. An hour later, girlfriend stops at the desk and says, "I want my pillow back." I got up and noticed the elevator was still open, so obviously she had snuck in a side door and tried to get up to the room. I asked her to return the keys. She threw them at me and said, "It's not like it matters if you have the keys, since you can change the code whenever you want." I just looked at her, unimpressed, and didn't say anything. I handed her the pillow. She turned to leave, but after a few steps, she turned around and screamed, "Forget you! Forget you! I'm leaving a bad review for you, jerk." I said, "Good. Like, yeah, leave a review. I dare you." It upset me so much. The worst part is, when I came in the next day, the front office manager said, "Well, you must have done something to provoke them. You must have raised your voice or gone off on them to make them act like that." Excuse me? I did not. "Well, you have to think about it from their point of view. They probably felt like you were being rude to them, and the cameras don't have sound, so we, the managers, can't really know what happened." Yes you can, because I told you." "What, a lady calls you names in passing, and she goes on the DNR list that same hour, but this woman screams 'forget you' at me in the middle of the lobby, and suddenly it's, 'you must have provoked her, we don't know what actually happened'?" I said I'd rather quit than work a job where management allows guests to act like that to their employees. She told me to take it up with the GM if I didn't like it, so I did. I sent him a long email supported by examples. I said I won't continue to work there unless the disparity in how situations are handled based on whether they happen to management versus employees is resolved. I took an extra day off. Actually got a better paying job offer too. My GM said we'll discuss the email in person on Friday. If he takes the guest side, I'm taking the other job. Am I the jerk for refusing to re-propose after my fiancée lost her engagement ring? I, 29 male, Proposed to my fiance, 28 female, 6 months ago with a beautiful ring that I saved up for over a year to buy. She was thrilled, and we've been happily planning our wedding since then. Last weekend, we went on a trip to the mountains for a little getaway. During one of our hikes, she realized that her engagement ring was missing. She was devastated, and we spent hours retracing our steps, but we couldn't find it. When we got back home, she asked if I could get her a new ring and re-propose to her to recreate the special moment. I told her that I understood how she felt, but buying another ring of the same quality would be financially challenging for me right now. I suggested that we could either wait until I could afford a similar ring or get a more modest ring for now and upgrade it in the future. She was upset and said that it wouldn't feel the same with a different ring and that the magic of the proposal was lost. Yeah, literally. She insisted that she wanted the moment to be recreated just as it was before. I told her that the important thing was our commitment to each other, not the ring or the proposal itself. She accused me of not caring enough about her feelings and said that if I truly loved her, I would find a way to make it happen. Now there's a lot of tension between us, and she's been distant ever since. I feel like I'm being practical, but she feels like I'm not valuing our engagement enough. Am I the jerk for refusing to re-propose with a new ring under these circumstances? Not the jerk. If you really loved me is a trap to try to get you to do something not just illogical, but counterproductive. You have actual things that you need to use your resources on, besides sentimental, non-pressing moments to recreate. This actually sounds like some sort of a test to see how far she can push you. Tread carefully. Not the jerk. I would be horrified if I lost the ring my fiance got me. No way would I expect him to replace it with conditions. Would really consider who you're asking to marry you and where their priorities lay. In the future, however, I would ensure the ring. Am I the jerk for refusing to pitch in money towards my sister-in-law's IVF treatments? My brother, Reed, and sister-in-law, Nora, have always wanted to have kids. However, they're unable to conceive naturally. Nora had multiple ovarian cysts and eventually needed to have both of her ovaries removed as a teenager. Reed and Nora are in their early 30s and are very urgent about needing to try sooner than never because they say that they're approaching an age where IVF success rates start to decline. Because of Nora's past medical issues, I'm told that she will need extra care and her round of treatments will be especially expensive, a little over $27,000. Reed and Nora already have $9,000 set aside in savings for IVF. They've raised $1,000 from friends. The rest of the family is pitching in smaller amounts as well. My mother is giving $2,000. Nora's sister, Lauren, is giving $1,000 and her parents are giving $4,000, which leaves about $10,000 left. Their insurance will not help to cover it because they don't consider it a medically necessary procedure. Reed and Nora also have had difficulty qualifying for an IVF loan as they have some poor credit. Reed and Nora are asking me to help because, according to the loan advisor, I'm allowed to take out the loan on Reed and Nora's behalf. $10,000 is a huge ask for me, and the fact that Reed and Nora have poor credit shows they already don't have a good track record of paying back loans. When I questioned why they didn't ask Lauren, they claimed they couldn't because she isn't single and childless like I am. They see it as me not having any dependents. My mother and parents-in-law don't have a lot of savings, and their earlier mentioned donations were already a huge gift for them. It takes a long time to correct a bad credit score, and it makes things much more difficult. And harsh as it is to say, I don't want to take out thousands of dollars in a loan for a procedure that has a good chance of not even working. So I told Reed and Nora no, and that their future kids are not my responsibility. I also wanted to put my foot down now, because next it's going to be private school tuition or a college fund, and that shouldn't be my responsibility just because I'm currently single and childless. Nora was obviously disappointed, but told me she respected my choice. Reed was angry. He told me that he would remember this for when I'm ever in a time of need, so that I will know how it feels to have family turn their back on me. The rest of the family members have essentially told me, "We're not mad at you, just disappointed." Because Nora worried for years that she would never be able to have kids or be a mother. They say Reed and Nora would be wonderful parents, and it isn't right that they can't conceive naturally, which I do agree with. However, I still stand by Nora and Reed's future kids not being my responsibility. I don't think that it's fair that I should delay or give up the possibility of starting my own family in order to finance Reed and Nora's. Am I the jerk? Not the jerk. And as a mom, I wonder if they can afford having a kid if they can't even take a $10,000 loan. Oh no, not the jerk. That is not your responsibility. I'm sorry that they're struggling, but common sense would beg the question, if they can't afford IVF, how could they afford the kid? The treatment may not even be successful. In addition, being single and childless and child-free doesn't mean you don't have your own obligations and causes to which you'd want your money to go. Best of luck to you. Not the jerk. Never loan money or co-sign a note for people who can't get a loan on their own. There's a reason banks reject them. It's astounding to me that people are so brazen. You should put your financial stability at risk just because they'd want you to? That's nuts. Finally, maybe Reed and Nora should wrap their heads together around the idea that they cannot afford IVF and should consider something radical, like adoption. Adoption is actually more expensive than IVF. From the conversations with people around my age who adopted or considered it, it's typically $50,000 to $80,000 from what I've been told. You can do foster to adopt, but that is not a setup which everyone can handle. And if they only want a fresh newborn baby, they probably won't want to do that, since it's usually toddlers and older. We adopted, and it was less than your numbers. Adoption has a lot of possibilities. My cousin has done foster to adopt for 2 infants and had expenses of less than $2,000 in total. Here's the reality. Some people want to be parents. They can adopt. Some people want to be pregnant. There's nothing wrong with that, and adoption doesn't satisfy it. I wish people would distinguish these more often. If a person can't get pregnant, that doesn't mean they will never be a parent. However, it may mean they will never experience pregnancy. For some people, that's devastating. I made a customer cry. So I had a table a long time ago with a nice couple who were at the restaurant during our dying down hours. Everything was pretty quiet at this point. We were close to closing and I was bartending, so I had started my cleaning duties for that. Well, this couple had been extremely pleasant. I offered different items to upsell the check and they were happy I was giving suggestions. I made them several drink refills. They were very polite and just enjoying their night, but they were pretty quiet. I didn't mind though. I was busy cleaning up and closing down the bar. After I give them their meals, I say, "All right, you guys, if everything looks okay, I'll leave you to it. If you need anything, I'll just be cleaning behind the bar here, so you can wave at me or call me over if you need something. But I'll still be keeping an eye on you guys and checking up a few times." I usually only offer this towards the end of the night since I'm kind of distracted with scrubbing things down, doing dishes, and other bar-related things. But this couple was content with just quietly eating their meals. They didn't need any more drinks or anything, so I just cleaned. When I noticed they had finished their meals, I went over and offered a dessert for them to try, upselling of course, and they happily said sure, so I went and grabbed it for them. I also grabbed 2 new spoons since I had cleared their table already. Well, I had my nails done at this time, and I'm not quite sure how it happened, but when I sat down the plate with the dessert, I went to hand the woman her spoon. Somehow, the spoon slipped from my fingers as I was handing it to her, and it flung and pelted her kind of hard in her chest. I immediately went from professional service voice to panicked, unexpected voice and rushed together. "Oh my goodness, I'm so sorry. I swear I wasn't trying to throw that at you." This sweet woman just started laughing and laughing and laughing until she was crying uncontrollably at her table. And when she finally caught her breath, she said, "That was the funniest thing to ever have happened to me in a restaurant." She started laughing and crying again, so I started to chuckle once I knew she wasn't upset. And her partner was just smiling while he ate his cake and said, "If you knew the day she had today, you'd know how much it means that you got her to laugh this hard." I just chuckled again and said, "Well, I'm glad I could make you laugh. Did you hear that panic in my voice? I was so worried I would have accidentally upset you," which caused her to laugh and cry even harder and say between laughs, "That's what's making me laugh so hard. You sounded so panicked compared to your service voice." After I laughed and apologized again, I decided to just leave them at that point to enjoy the rest of their meal. And as I was cleaning up some more behind the bar, the woman was still laughing and eating her dessert. She laughed all the way until her and her partner walked out of the door. The guy left me $50 with a note thanking me for making his wife's day better and to not throw spoons at any more customers. Am I the jerk for telling my brother it was a dumb decision to invite his new girlfriend to our nephew's birthday? I'm 20, male. My brother Ron is 27. He met his late girlfriend Linda when they were 16 and they started dating shortly after. To say the family adored her would be an understatement. Linda was beautiful, smart, and had an amazing sense of humor. She's been part of the family for so long that most of us don't remember a time without her. Most of our best memories have her in them. Linda was very close to my nephew, Drew, who's 6. Drew is disabled and he's autistic, so he has a hard time connecting to other people. I don't know how to describe the relationship between Drew and Linda. They just sort of clicked. From the moment he was born, she was his best friend and would often watch over him. Sadly, Linda passed at the end of January after she was hit by a drunk driver. The entire family was devastated and we're still mourning her. Drew took it especially hard since he doesn't really grasp what death means yet. He constantly asks, "Where is Linda? And when will she be coming back?" Sometimes going as far as having full-blown meltdowns because he misses her so much. He's currently attending therapy to learn how to process his grief, but it's a slow process. Drew's birthday is in 2 weeks, and my sister and brother-in-law sent out invitations to everyone in the family asking who can come. Birthdays are a big deal in our family and are usually an over-the-top event with catering, so it's necessary to confirm the number of guests. Apparently, Ron wrote that he'll come with Gia, a new girlfriend he's hoping to introduce to the family. Most of the family's upset at him for moving on so quickly. I personally think it's none of my business, and I'm not going to tell him what to do or how to live his life. However, bringing a new partner over to his nephew's birthday when he knows how said nephew was so attached to his former girlfriend and is still mourning her is idiotic at best and cruel at worst. Brother-in-law told Ron that if he's planning on bringing that girl over for Drew's birthday, he shouldn't bother coming at all. Ron called me to complain, and I told him the same thing. He shouldn't bring her over. Ron called me a jerk and a bad brother. He said he's finally happy again after Linda's passing, and why is it so hard for us to accept that he moved on and support his relationship? I told him I'm happy to hear he's doing well, and I'm sure the family would someday love to meet the girl that makes him so happy, but I'm standing by my opinion that inviting her now was a dumb decision on his part, and he chose the worst possible time and place to introduce someone new to the family. Edit. Ron and Linda were still together when she passed away. Not the jerk. I don't think your brother should be punished for finding happiness with someone new and shouldn't be held to your family's timetable for grief. But Drew's birthday is the wrong time to introduce her to the family, given how young Drew is and how attached he was to Linda. Do this next. Tap here on your screen to come see our new podcast playlist, where you'll find thousands of hours of the best stories you've ever heard. Or tap the one on the right. That episode is specifically just for you, based on other videos you've enjoyed the most.